Picture this. You're sitting in a conference room, looking at a piece of paper that just cut 48 grand from money you already earned. Money that was approved, documented, sitting right there waiting to hit your account, and some MBA half your age is telling you it's a business decision. What would you do? I'm Wade Phillips, 48 years old, and I've been running plant operations at Precision Industrial Solutions for 15 years. What I'm about to tell you is exactly how I handled that situation, and why it ended up costing them a lot more than they tried to steal from me. It started on a Thursday morning in June. I got to the plant early, around 6:30, same as I had for the past decade and a half. The parking lot was mostly empty, except for the overnight cruise cars and a few early birds like me. I badged in through the main entrance, walked past the production floor, where the third shift was wrapping up their run, and headed upstairs to my office. I sat down at my desk, fired up the computer, and there it was. Email sent at 11:47 the night before. Subject line, Q2 performance review scheduling required. Meeting set for 9 a.m. that morning. Attendees, me, Lisa Foster from HR, and somebody named Bryce Hamilton. I had to look that one up in the company directory. Vice President of Finance. New guy, been with the company maybe 4 months. Now I've been around long enough to know that when you get a meeting invite with the VP of Finance and HR, it's not about your Employee of the Month award. But I also knew my numbers. We'd closed Q2 strong. Safety incidents were down 23% from last year. Production efficiency was up 8%. We'd passed our EPA inspection without a single violation. I had the documentation for all of it sitting in my files. See, I run the operations for our main production line. We manufacture industrial boiler systems and pressure vessels. Big, complicated equipment that goes into power plants, chemical facilities, refineries. The kind of stuff that, if it breaks down, people notice, and if it fails catastrophically, people die. I've been the guy making sure that doesn't happen since 2009. Over the years, I built out our entire safety and compliance system from the ground up, designed the maintenance protocols, created the inspection schedules, trained every supervisor on the floor. By 2024, I was overseeing production for about 40 major contracts, managing a crew of 18 guys, and personally handling the compliance documentation for accounts that brought in around $8 million in annual revenue. Back in 2011, after we had a pressure vessel failure that put 3 guys in the hospital, I negotiated what they call a retention agreement with the company. Nothing fancy, just a guarantee that if the company ever got sold or merged, I'd get a bonus to make sure I stayed on through the transition. The logic was simple. I was the only one who knew all the safety protocols inside and out, and losing me during a merger would be a disaster for compliance and certification. The agreement was pretty straightforward. If we went through a change of ownership, I'd get 18 months of base salary as a retention bonus, plus extra if we maintained our safety ratings. It was signed by Roger Mitchell, who was CFO at the time, filed with HR, dated, and notarized. Standard stuff. For years, it didn't matter because there was no merger talk. Company was doing fine, steady growth, no drama. Then, in early 2024, things started changing. Our longtime CEO retired, and they brought in this guy, Glenn Morrison. Corporate consultant type, very polished. Lots of talk about efficiency initiatives and operational optimization. Within a few months, Glenn brought in his own team. That's when Bryce Hamilton showed up as VP of Finance, along with a couple other executives I didn't know. The whole atmosphere in the plant shifted. Lots of closed-door meetings, budget reviews, talk about restructuring. Around May, word started getting around that we were in talks with some big industrial conglomerate about an acquisition. Nobody was saying it officially, but you could feel it in the air. Guys were nervous. I wasn't too worried because I had that retention agreement. If a merger happened, I'd be taken care of. Susan and I had been talking about it over dinner one night. She was concerned about the rumors, worried about my job security. We've been married 22 years, got 2 kids in college. Sarah's a junior at State studying engineering, costs us about $18,000 a year. And Michael just started his sophomore year at the community college, another $8,000. Plus, Susan's been dealing with some health issues, nothing serious but doctor visits and tests that even with insurance are running us a couple hundred a month. You think they'd really sell the company? She asked, cutting into her chicken. Companies get sold all the time, I said. But if they do, I'm protected. That retention agreement kicks in. How much we talking about? I did the quick math in my head, based on my salary now, probably around $140,000. Maybe more if our safety numbers stay good. She nodded, looked relieved. That would take care of the kids' college for a while. In June, we finished Q2, hit every single target. Safety metrics were solid, production was ahead of schedule, EPA compliance was spotless. I documented everything in our quarterly review system and sent it up to Lisa Foster in HR. She approved it. A few days later, I got email confirmation that my performance bonus, 32,000 minus, had been approved and would be processed with the next payroll. Plus, I had another 16,000 in overtime pay that had been pre-approved for the quarter, 48,000 total. That's real money. Money I'd earned, money I was counting on. Sarah's tuition was due in August. Michael needed books and supplies. Susan's medical bills were starting to pile up. Then I got that meeting invite. I walked into the small conference room on the second floor a few minutes after 9. Lisa was already there, sitting on one side of the table. Bryce Hamilton was across from her, wearing a charcoal suit and looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He barely looked up when I came in. I sat down. Lisa gave me one of those tight smiles that doesn't mean anything and said, "Thanks for coming, Wade." "Sure," I said. "What's this about?" Bryce finally looked up from his laptop. He folded his hands on the table and said, very matter-of-factly, "We're making some adjustments to the Q2 bonus structure." I felt my jaw tighten. What kind of adjustments? Due to budgetary relocations in preparation for upcoming organizational changes, we've decided to revise the performance bonus payouts for this quarter. Organizational changes. There it was. Lisa jumped in. "Wade, your performance this quarter was excellent. That's not in question. But the company's in a transition phase, and leadership has decided to redirect some of the allocated bonus funds toward other strategic priorities." I stared at her. "So what does that mean exactly?" Bryce slid a piece of paper across the table. "It means your bonus for Q2 is being adjusted to 10,000 instead of the previously approved 32,000. And we're also eliminating the overtime payments that were pre-approved for the quarter." I looked down at the paper. There it was, typed out clean and official. My name, the new amount, 10,000, total reduction, 38,000. I looked back up at Bryce. This was already approved. The overtime was pre-approved. "You're telling me none of that matters?" "Provisional approvals are subject to executive review," he said. "Final disbursements are at management discretion." Management discretion, I repeated slowly. I hit every target, every safety metric, every production goal. "You're saying that doesn't count for anything?" Lisa shifted in her seat. "It absolutely counts, Wade. But the company's priorities have shifted, and we need to allocate resources where they'll have the most strategic impact. And where's my 38,000 going?" Bryce's expression didn't change. "That's not really relevant to this discussion." I sat there for a second, just processing. My first thought was disbelief. This couldn't be real, but the paper was right there in front of me, signed by Bryce, dated that morning. "Can I see the documentation for this decision?" I asked. Bryce frowned. "The documentation?" "Yeah, the budget report, the executive memo, whatever justification you're using for this. I'd like to see it." Lisa looked uncomfortable. "Wade, I don't think that's really. I'm entitled to see the reasoning behind a compensation change," I said, keeping my voice level, "especially one that's retroactive to work I've already completed." Bryce stared at me for a long moment. Then he said, "We'll provide that documentation in due course. For now, this is the decision." I nodded slowly. "And if I don't agree to this, then we'll need to discuss your future with the company," Bryce said flatly. There it was. The threat, not even subtle. I looked at Lisa. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I stood up. "I need some time to think about this." Bryce leaned back in his chair. "You have until close of business Friday to sign the revised agreement. If you don't sign, we'll assume you're declining any bonus payment entirely." I picked up the paper, folded it once, and walked out. I went back to my office and just sat there for a while. Didn't check email, didn't return calls. Just stared at that piece of paper and tried to figure out what the hell had just happened. $38,000. That wasn't pocket change. That was Sarah's tuition for 2 years. That was Susan's medical bills and then some. That was money I'd earned by keeping 18 guys safe and $8 million worth of equipment running smoothly. Around 11, I walked down to the production floor. Sometimes when my head's spinning, I like to get out there with the crew, check the pressure gauges, listen to the machinery. There's something about the steady hum of equipment running right that helps me think. I found Tommy Rodriguez at the main boiler inspection station. Tommy's been with the company almost as long as I have, started as a welder, worked his way up to shift supervisor. Good man, knows the equipment inside and out. "Morning, Wade," he said, not looking up from the pressure readings he was logging. Heard there was some kind of meeting upstairs. Word travels fast in a plant. "Yeah, just quarterly review stuff. Everything okay? You look like someone ran over your dog." I watched him check the temperature sensors, record the numbers on his clipboard. Everything by the book, exactly like I'd trained him. "Tommy, you ever think about what would happen if I wasn't here?" He looked up then. "What do you mean?" "I mean, who knows the EPA protocols like I do? Who's got the hazmat certifications?" Tommy set down his clipboard. "Wade, what's going on? Just thinking out loud. Say I got hit by a bus tomorrow. How long you think it would take to get someone else certified to handle the environmental compliance stuff?" "Hell, I don't know. Months, maybe longer." "That stuff's complicated." He studied my face. "You're not thinking about leaving, are you?" "Not thinking about anything right now. Just wondering." But that wasn't true. I was thinking plenty. I was thinking about $38,000 stolen from my family. I was thinking about some kid in a suit who'd been here 4 months telling me my 15 years of work didn't matter. And I was thinking about that retention agreement sitting in my filing cabinet at home. I called my wife Susan around noon. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, honey," she said. "How's your day?" "Not great," I said. I told her what happened. The meeting, the cuts, the ultimatum. There was a long pause. Then she said, "Can they do that legally?" "I don't know," I said. "Apparently they think they can." "What are you going to do?" I looked out at the production floor, watched Tommy and his crew running their checks. Everything smooth and safe and exactly the way it should be. "I'm going to read my contract," I said. I left the plant around 1 p.m. and drove home. Susan was there working in her home office, dealing with insurance paperwork from her last doctor's visit. I went into our den, pulled out the filing cabinet where we kept all our important papers, and found my employment contract. I hadn't looked at it in years. I sat down at the kitchen table and started reading. The retention agreement was stapled to the back, just like I remembered. It outlined the bonus structure pretty clearly. If the company underwent a change of control and I stayed on through the transition, I was entitled to a retention payment equal to 18 months of my base salary, plus additional compensation based on maintained safety ratings and client retention. I did the math. My base salary was $95,000. 18 months of that was about $20,500, plus the performance kickers could push it higher. But here's the thing. The agreement had a trigger clause. It only kicked in if a merger or acquisition was formally announced. And as of that moment, nothing had been announced publicly. I kept reading, and then I saw it, buried in the middle of the document, a section I'd honestly forgotten about. It said that if the company attempted to reduce my compensation or terminate my employment without cause during the 12-month period before a change of control, the retention agreement would activate immediately, regardless of whether the change had been publicly announced. I read it again and again. They'd just cut my compensation. That counted as a reduction. And if they were preparing for a merger, which all the signs pointed to, then my retention agreement was now active. I sat back in my chair and looked out the kitchen window at Susan's garden. She'd been working on those tomato plants all summer, tending them every day, making sure they had what they needed to grow. They had no idea what they'd just triggered. I didn't sign the revised agreement. I didn't respond to Bryce's follow-up emails. I just waited. Friday came and went. No word from anyone. Monday morning, I got an email from HR. Subject line, "Final bonus agreement, action required." I opened it. It was a formal notice saying that since I hadn't signed the revised agreement, they were processing my Q2 compensation as 0, not 10,000, 0. The email was polite but firm. It said my non-response was interpreted as declining the adjusted terms, so no bonus would be issued at all. I forwarded the email to my personal account. Then I replied to HR with one sentence. "Please confirm this is an official reduction of my previously approved compensation." They confirmed it within an hour. That's when I knew I had them. I called in sick Tuesday and drove over to see Alan Rodriguez. He's a labor attorney I'd used years back when the company tried to reclassify some of our supervisors to avoid paying overtime. Sharp guy, knows his way around employment law. His office is in one of those converted houses downtown, nothing fancy but solid. I explained the situation, the pay cuts, the retention agreement, the merger rumors. Alan listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and said, "Do you have copies of everything?" "Yeah." "The original retention agreement, the emails from HR, the revised bonus paperwork, all of it." "Good. Let me see it." I pulled out the folder I'd brought and spread the documents on his desk. He spent about 20 minutes reading through everything, making notes on a legal pad. Wade, he said finally, this is pretty straightforward. They triggered your retention agreement the moment they reduced your compensation. If they're negotiating a merger, which it sounds like they are, you're entitled to that payout whether it's been announced or not. How much are we talking about? Based on your current salary and the performance metrics you showed me, probably around $165,000. Maybe a bit more if your safety ratings stay solid through the transition. I felt something loosen in my chest that would take care of a lot. Here's the thing though, Alan continued, they're going to fight this. They'll argue the reduction was within their discretion, that the retention agreement doesn't apply, that there's no merger actually happening. It could get messy. What do you recommend? Let me send them a formal notice first. Lay out your position, cite the specific clauses, make it clear you know your rights and expect them to honor the agreement. See how they respond. Alan drafted the letter that afternoon. It was professional but firm. Referenced the retention agreement, cited the compensation reduction clause, requested confirmation that the company would honor the terms. The response came back within 24 hours from Bryce Hamilton himself. Short email saying the company disputed my interpretation of the agreement and didn't believe the bonus adjustment constituted a triggering event. It also said if I continued to pursue the matter, they'd consider it a breach of my employment obligations and take appropriate action. I forwarded it to Alan. He called me immediately. Okay, this just got interesting, he said. How so? They're threatening you. That's not normal corporate legal response. That's panic. What are they panicking about? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. In the meantime, I want you to document everything. Every conversation, every email, every interaction with management, and Wade, be very careful what you say at work. They're looking for a reason to fire you. Wednesday afternoon, I got a call from Lisa Foster. She sounded stressed. Wade, can we talk? About what? Just, can we meet somewhere? Off-site. Maybe get coffee? We met at a diner about 10 minutes from the plant. She looked exhausted when she walked in, dark circles under her eyes. She ordered coffee, sat down across from me and said, "This is getting out of hand." I waited. "Look," she said, "I don't know what's going on with Bryce and the legal team, but you need to be careful. There's a lot happening behind the scenes that I'm not privy to, and I think you've stepped into something bigger than you realize." Bigger how? She hesitated, looked around the diner like she was checking to see who might be listening. The merger. It's real. It's happening. They're in final negotiations with a company called American Industrial Group. The deal's worth $26 million. It's supposed to close in about 7 weeks. I felt my pulse quicken, and part of the deal involves maintaining key operational staff through the transition. You're on that list, Wade. They need you to stay on. But Bryce has been pushing to renegotiate all the retention agreements before the deal closes because he thinks they're too expensive. So they're trying to cut my payout before the merger goes through. Yeah, but Wade, if they let you go before the merger, you could lose everything. And if the merger falls apart because key personnel aren't in place, she trailed off. Then what? Then a lot of people lose their jobs, including me. I studied her face. Lisa had always been straight with me, even when it wasn't easy. Why are you telling me this? Because I've got 2 kids and a mortgage, and I need this company to survive. But what they're doing to you isn't right. Bryce is making decisions based on spreadsheets, not reality. He doesn't understand what you actually do here. What do you mean? I mean, he thinks anyone can handle EPA compliance and safety protocols. He doesn't get that you're the only one with the certifications, the only one who knows the systems inside and out. If you leave, we're looking at months of downtime while someone else gets trained and certified. She leaned forward across the table. Wade, they need you more than they're willing to admit. But Bryce's ego is getting in the way of good business sense. That night, Susan and I sat at the kitchen table going over our finances. Medical bills, college tuition payments, mortgage, car payments. The missing $38,000 was leaving a hole we couldn't easily fill. "What's Alan think about your chances?" she asked, writing numbers in her checkbook ledger. "He thinks the law's on my side, but companies don't always follow the law, especially when there's big money involved." She looked up from her calculations. How big? The retention payment, probably around $165,000. Her eyes widened. That much? Yeah, plus the $38,000 they already stole. We're talking about more than $200,000 total. Susan set down her pen and leaned back in her chair. That would pay off the house. It would pay for both kids' college and pay off the house. We sat there for a minute, both thinking about what that kind of money would mean. No more mortgage payments, no more worrying about tuition, no more choosing between Sarah's textbooks and Susan's physical therapy appointments. "What's the next step?" she asked. I thought about my conversation with Lisa, about the merger timeline, about Bryce Hamilton's threats. "I need to figure out exactly how much leverage I have," I said. "And then I need to use it." The next morning, I called Alan and told him I was ready to play hardball. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I mean, I need to send them a message they can't ignore." I explained about my EPA certifications, the compliance database I controlled, the hazardous materials handling that only I was qualified to do. Without me, the plant couldn't pass its next inspection. And without EPA compliance, the merger would collapse. "That's significant leverage," Alan said. "But you need to be careful how you use it. I'm not going to threaten to sabotage anything. I'm just going to point out the reality of the situation." We drafted a second letter. It was simple and direct. It laid out my position. I was entitled to the retention payment under the terms of my agreement. The company's attempt to reduce my compensation had triggered the clause. I expected them to honor it. But then, we added a paragraph explaining that if the company attempted to terminate my employment or retaliate against me for asserting my contractual rights, I would be unable to provide the necessary support for ongoing EPA compliance and hazardous materials operations, which could impact the plant's certification status. We weren't threatening anything, we were just stating facts. Alan sent the letter on a Wednesday. The response came within 2 hours. Not an email, a phone call. From Glenn Morrison, the CEO himself. I was in my office when the phone rang. "Wade Phillips," I answered. "Wade, this is Glenn Morrison. I think we need to talk." I sat back in my chair. "Okay. I just got a letter from your attorney. I'll be honest, I'm disappointed. We've always valued your contributions here, and I'd hoped we could resolve this without things getting complicated." "I'd hoped that too," I said. "But here we are." "Wade, let me be direct. The merger with American Industrial Group is critical to this company's future. It's not just about the money. It's about securing jobs for everyone who works here. If this deal falls apart, we're looking at layoffs, maybe worse. I understand the stakes," I said. "That's why I'm asking you to honor the agreement we made 13 years ago. The agreement is complicated. There are legal questions about whether the trigger applies in this situation. My lawyer thinks it's pretty clear." Glenn was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What do you want, Wade?" I thought about that conversation with Susan at the kitchen table, about Sarah's tuition bills and Michael's textbooks, about Susan's medical appointments we'd been putting off because of the copays. I want the retention payment I'm entitled to, based on my salary and performance metrics. That's about $165,000, plus I want the $38,000 in bonus and overtime money that was already approved and then taken away. That's over $200,000, Wade. It's what I'm owed. Glenn exhaled slowly. "I'll need to discuss this with the board. But Wade, if this merger doesn't happen, because of this situation, a lot of good people are going to suffer." "That's not on me," I said quietly. "That's on Bryce Hamilton. He's the one who decided to cut my pay and threaten me when I asked for what I was owed." The line went quiet. Then Glenn said, "I'll call you back." I didn't hear anything for the rest of that day or the next morning. I kept working, kept running my crew, kept pretending everything was normal, but word was getting around that something big was happening. Tommy Rodriguez pulled me aside during the lunch break. "Wade, what's going on?" "Guys are saying there might be layoffs. I can't talk about it right now, Tommy, but whatever happens, you keep doing your job the right way. Okay? Safety first. Always." He nodded, but I could see the worry in his eyes. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about my family anymore. There were 340 people working at this plant, most of them good folks with mortgages and kids and bills just like me. Friday afternoon, Alan called. "They want to meet," he said. "When Monday morning, 9 a.m., at their outside counsel's office downtown. Glenn will be there, plus Bryce, their lawyer Patricia Wells, and 2 board members. That's a lot of people. Yeah, they're taking this seriously." The meeting was in a glass conference room on the 12th floor of a downtown office building. Alan and I got there right at 9. Glenn was already sitting at the head of a long table. Bryce was to his right, looking like he'd aged 5 years in the past 2 weeks. Patricia Wells was across from them, and 2 older men in expensive suits sat near the far end. Glenn started, "Wade, thank you for coming. I know this has been difficult for everyone. We want to find a resolution that works for all parties." One of the board members spoke up. "Mr. Phillips, we've reviewed your retention agreement thoroughly. Our legal team believes there are legitimate questions about interpretation. However, we recognize that prolonged litigation would be costly and disruptive, especially given the timing of our merger. So what are you proposing? Alan asked. Patricia leaned forward. We're prepared to offer a settlement. We'll reinstate Mr. Phillips' original Q2 compensation, $38,000 minus, and provide an additional discretionary payment of $85,000, total of $123,000. In exchange, Mr. Phillips would waive any claims under the retention agreement and commit to remaining with the company through completion of the merger. Alan glanced at me. The retention agreement entitles him to $165,000 plus the $38,000 that was improperly withheld. That's $203,000 total. The retention agreement is subject to interpretation, Patricia said. We're offering a guaranteed payment to avoid that uncertainty. Glenn looked directly at me. Wade, we need your commitment on the EPA compliance. If we settle this, you'll provide full cooperation through the transition? I met his eyes. If the settlement is fair, Bryce spoke for the first time, we need access to the compliance database regardless. That's company property. It's a system I built and maintain. I said calmly, the certifications are in my name. If I'm not here to provide access and support willingly, you're looking at months to get someone else certified and rebuild the documentation. Your merger will collapse. The older board member held up a hand. Let's keep this productive. He looked at Alan. What's your client's bottom line? Alan straightened up. Simple. The retention agreement is clear. Mr. Phillips's compensation was reduced during the trigger period. He's entitled to $165,000 under the retention clause, plus $38,000 in wrongfully withheld compensation. Total $203,000. Final offer. Long silence. Glenn leaned back in his chair, rubbed his temples. The board members exchanged glances. Then the older one said, "Can we have a moment to confer?" They left the room. Alan and I waited. It felt like forever, but it was probably only 15 minutes. When they came back, Glenn looked exhausted. "All right," he said, "here's what we can do. We'll pay you $180,000. That's the retention amount we're willing to recognize, plus the original compensation that was withheld, $38,000. Total, $218,000. Payment within 5 business days of signing the agreement. You stay through the merger transition. Provide all necessary cooperation on EPA compliance, and sign a release of any further claims." I looked at Alan. He nodded slightly. "What's the transition period?" I asked. 60 days from merger close. Deal. The paperwork took 3 days to finalize. We signed it Thursday morning. The wire transfer hit my account Monday afternoon, $218,000. The merger closed 5 weeks later. American Industrial Group took over, and the transition went smooth. I provided all the EPA documentation they needed, trained their compliance team, made sure everything was buttoned up tight. Bryce Hamilton resigned the day the merger was announced. Don't know if he was pushed or jumped, but he was gone. Last I heard, he took a job with some consulting firm. As for me, I stayed through the 60-day transition, just like I promised. After that, I gave my notice. Didn't need the job anymore. I'd already started my own consulting business, helping smaller manufacturers set up safety and compliance systems. Turns out when you've kept a major industrial plant EPA compliant for 15 years and know every regulation inside and out, people want to hire you. That money paid off our mortgage and covered both kids' college tuition with plenty left over. Susan got the medical care she needed without us worrying about copays. And I learned something important. When you're the guy who knows how to keep the lights on and the inspectors happy, you've got more power than you think. You just have to be willing to use it. Because here's what I learned. When you're the guy who keeps the lights on and the inspectors happy, you've got more power than you think. You just have to be willing to use it.